Good evening, Dolton. This Housing Committee meeting is already in progress. Tonight's focus: a resident first path to reclaim vacant and abandoned homes. Applicants place a $10,000 escrow. The village seeks a judicial deed, clears eligible back taxes, and conveys the property. New owners must pull permits within 30 days, bring to code within a year, live in the home for 3 years, and show proof of rehab funds. You'll also hear safeguards, crime-free housing enforcement, a potential rental moratorium, plus building and zoning guidance and public Q&A on costs, timelines, and transparency. Let's get involved in the conversation as we join the meeting in progress.
Homes already that they think could qualify for the program. Qualify for the program means that it is abandoned, vacant, dangerous, and unsafe. And then either one or two other things have to exist. Either it has to have 2 years or more back taxes, or it has to have an outstanding water bill for 2 or more years. If it meets all those qualifying points, we can, you would put up an escrow. The resident would put up an escrow. I believe the escrow amount is going to be, I'm not, don't quote me, but I think it's going to be $10,000. And then the village will take that property to court, obtain a judicial deed on it. Once they obtain the judicial deed, they'll go ahead and file with the county to have the taxes all wiped off, and then they'll convey it to the applicant. So therefore, the applicant will get the home free and clear of all back taxes. Once they receive the home, they have 6 months to, they have 30 days to apply for permits, begin work, get their contractors, things like that in place. And then there'll be progress steps along the way, as long as you're moving, getting the electrical done, getting the HVAC done, moving along on it. You'll be hitting the high points of the program. And then finally at 1 year, I think you decided 1 year.
Well, they get a year to fix it up.
Yep.
3 years they have to.
Yeah, so within 1 year, it has to be brought up to code, and you have to have a certificate of occupancy. And once you have that certificate of occupancy, you have to live in the home for 3 years. And then once you've lived in the home for 3 years, the home is yours to do with what you would like. I think that's about it.
So, as I stated, we're going to consider our housing program like one big melting pot. So there's going to be several different components, and this is just our start. I know that in the past, our ultimate goal has always been to put them on a tax roll. So the time has come for us to work as a community right now. Our goal is to just go over everything just so that we can hear your thoughts and concerns as residents, so that you can share with the board, because we believe in transparency, guys. And ultimately, this is our program. Do you have any input, Trustee Brown? Any questions or?
$10,000 escrow,
Yes, ma'am.
and that will be held by the village.
Yes, ma'am.
And then also, who's responsible, you said again, for wiping out the taxes?
Once the village receives the judicial deed, then the village would apply to have those taxes abated with the Cook County Treasurer.
Okay.
Only the municipality can have the back taxes wiped out. And it just, so that you know, it's regardless of how many years, if it's
Gotcha.
2 years, 10 years, 50 years.
Okay. And then you say they can get the home if it's back 2 years back taxes, we can
Yep.
obtain it, or what was the water bill?
So one of the qualifiers is 2-prong. It's either 2 years or more in back taxes or a water balance for 2 or more years.
Okay. Okay.
So what we'll do is, at the end of the meeting, we'll have public comment, guys. So once more, I'll just go over the ordinance. I'll just make sure that it's nothing that we have all the information. So as we stated, owner occupied 3 years. You all will be able to come to the village once we start. Well, once this program, if this program is approved by the board, then we'll have a process set in place where you all can come to the village and get applications. Oh, a major thing. The escrow will be $10,000, but you all will have to show proof of funds in regards to being able to rehab the property. Okay. I just want to make sure it's nothing that I missed.
Trustee, I have one more question.
Sure.
Okay. With the $10,000 escrow, what's the charge for you? For the
Okay.
person over the program?
So right now, and we haven't solidified anything only because we're not sure it's going to be, we want to make sure it's approved. But she and I were discussing about $4,500.
Out of the 10 you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. $4,500. So what she'll have to do is she'll have to complete all the paperwork. She'll go and submit everything to the courts. So I'll have citizens address in just a second, and I'll answer you all's questions during citizens address, okay? I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So another thing that we'll consider, guys, is during the application period, when we do bring it to the next board meeting, we'll have information regarding how long the application period will be open, okay? So if there's nothing else, any more questions, Trustee Brown?
One more.
Sure.
So I know we don't have a list of properties right now, correct? Or do we?
So how we're going to do it is the residents are going to bring the addresses. They're going to bring the properties. That way we don't have to worry about a bidding war. The residents find the property. And of course, it's first come, first serve. As long as you all have proof of funds proving that you can rehab the property.
Okay.
Anything I could have missed
Okay.
before prior to moving
I
forward?
don't think so. Do you want me to address his concerns about an additional? He thinks it's an additional 4,500.
Oh, no, you know what? We'll do it.
Yeah.
Because most of the questions, and then we can just answer them at the end.
Sounds good.
I'll let. Sure. You're next. Yeah. House rules. But I just want to make sure prior to moving forward.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, guys. So residents, I know you all have questions. We'll make sure that you're able to get your 3 minutes during public comment, and I'll answer you all's questions. Next. Oh, so if we don't have any more discussion, I'm going to ask for a recommendation from the board to move this to the CAL meeting. Trustee Brown,
You said what now?
recommendation to move it to the CAL meeting.
Sure.
Okay, and then I vote, I myself also, and this is moving it to the CAL meeting. And then we'll go to House Rules, Agenda Item B. One of our best, one of the best inspectors in the whole Southland, the director. How's it?
Good evening. I'll keep this short. I know everybody's interested in getting to the question and answer segment. I just want to say, with winter upon us, just make sure everybody's starting to get their housing together for winterization. I mentioned in the summertime in the video about our gutters and stuff being clean so we don't get those ice dams built up in the wintertime. Also, one thing I noticed with Public Works research last year, please remember to disconnect your water hoses. And if you can, turn that outside spigot out. We've had 17 different residents have issues with a pipe bursting in the house due to the fact they left their water hoses and sprinklers hooked up. Make sure you drain those and cap those off. That is pretty much about it, so we can move this meeting forward.
Okay, guys, so the moment that we've all been waiting for, public comment. Everyone have 3 minutes for public comment.
Anyone with public comment, please feel free to step up to the podium.
Hold on, guys, I'm gonna get our timer out. 1 second, Miss Stillman, I'm gonna get our time out for us. Okay, I'm almost ready to do it. I'm gonna use numbers. Let's first.
You want to take one of those? Oh, that one. Gotcha.
How you doing? I'm Thelma Price, and the only thing I'm concerned about for the residents that have to locate the properties, how do we have the tools to do that? That's really strange. And if this is a program for the village, Why do we have to do that footwork? Shouldn't you guys have a list of all the abandoned properties in the village?
So the thought process is for the residents, and I figured you all live here since it's for the residents. So I figured who know the house better next
Baby.
door to them that's abandoned.
Baby,
Now,
I don't know I don't know about all the abandoned properties. I don't know who still own them. I don't have those tools. And I think a lot of us don't have those tools. You all would have those tools. It just doesn't make sense to me, Brittany.
if you would like to,
Brittany.
get a list, I'm okay with it being wherever you like. I was considering residents who, because what typically happens is if we have a list, then if it's first come, first serve, then it's going to be a lot of chaos. But that's something I'll consider and take to the board. That's totally fine with me. We can
Okay.
give you what we have. That's totally fine.
Okay, that was my only concern, you know.
Maybe this might help, Miss Thelma, is you don't need to know who owns it or anything like that. You just come to the village and say, hey, this house looks vacant. Does this qualify? And then the village does the work to figure out if it qualifies. Yeah.
But if you'd like a list, I'll give you a
I
list.
mean,
We'll
if-
start it. We'll start the process.
if that's
and
what
then
you all gonna do, then go ahead and do
first
it.
come, first serve. I
You
mean,
know, that's okay. Okay.
and as she stated, Ms. Thelma, it's just the idea, so it still has to be voted on. But we are here because we want to hear your thoughts.
Mhm.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, I'm so new. Can I ask multiple questions within this 3 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, so my first
Those are-
question is, I think during the first recording, it was talks about potentially residents obtaining maybe 2 or 3 properties. So is it now moving forward, the decision for only like 1 property, especially since the residents would have to move into that property after the rehab?
So it'll be everyone will be able to get 1 property, and what happens is it's not necessarily that if you have a house, right? We understand that you can't live there. So I'll give you a scenario, and I'll pause your minutes. We have a senior, and she called me the other day, and she said, "Hey, in regards to the program, I have a grown son who lives out of state, and I want to assist him with." Because she can purchase property. She wants him to move in her house so that he can move here to assist her. She's disabled and she just needs the help. She's stating, hey, he's grown. He don't want to live under my household, under my household, but he wants to come closer. So that in that instance, but say you have a family member, something of that sort, as long as it stays in your name for the 3 years, it's just no rentals. And the reason for that is because residents have come to me after the last meeting. They're saying, hey, we don't want a situation where people are purchasing all the homes and then there's an influx in rentals. And, so we're just giving you all the opportunity.
Makes sense. Thank you for that. My next question is it only for single family or is it up to 4 units? Or are we allowed to go into the 5 commercials if those are any vacant?
So right now our talks is, and it's still more discussion for the board, but our talks is we know for a fact single family, but we're contemplating the multi-units. And if so, we'll possibly do multi-units. It'll just more than likely be a different escrow amount.
Okay, understood. And then in regards to the escrow amount, I think my understanding, and it may be wrong, is with the escrow, after the work is done, you're able to retrieve it back. So with this, does that mean that after the work has been completed, the escrow or that amount would stay with the village?
No, so I'm sorry. So the escrow amount is the cost to bring the suit, all of the legal fees, getting the deed, abating the back taxes, and then after that, there would actually be closing between the village and yourselves. So whatever's left over in that escrow pot out of the 10,000 is your purchase price. So if it costs the village $7,000 to obtain the property, then when you go to close, your purchase price is $3,000.
Understood.
So that's how much you pay for the home, even though you're not paying for the home, right? You're paying for all of the legal fees to get the home.
That makes sense. And in your experience, does it ever go past the 10,000 or that amount where like the residents would need to bring additional money to closing?
It's very, very rare, especially in single family homes. I don't know of it ever happening with a single family home. It happens more often with commercial or multi-units. So yeah.
Understood. And I
Yeah.
think those are my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you did. Yes, really good questions.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Robert Pearson, former trustee, 40-year resident. Your program answers homeowners living in it for 3 years. But what I would like to see the village do, and this is just me, is do a moratorium on renters. I feel like Dolton is losing its homeowner base, and we getting more renters than we have homeowners moving in. Every time I see an empty house and I find out later that it's a renter, and renters don't have a stake in the game like homeowners. And if I would like to see the board take that to account and get that approved like Markham just did and like South Holland did. If the homeowner is going to live in there 3 years, that protects that. But are investors going to be able to buy these properties, or people that's going to buy them and just rent them out? There was a person who rented a house behind me, and the owner didn't even live in Illinois. So his rent was mailed to him, and he didn't care what the property looked like or what was going on, or that rats was in that house. He just wanted his rent. And all investors are not like that, and all renters aren't bad. But matter of fact, we have some renters on my block that are great people, but you got to have a stake in the game. And if we're going to rent, if we're not going to get an ordinance like that passed, we at least need to get the crime-free housing ordinance in effect 100%. And by that, I mean that they're following every rule of the crime-free housing ordinance. Because if that was done correctly, we wouldn't have problems with renters.
Okay.
And some homeowners are bad. I'm not saying homeowners are all good. I'm just saying that we need to do that moratorium on renting.
Got it.
At least for 5 years.
No, got it. So, and this is why we're having this conversation, right? We're one family, and this is a discussion for everyone, because you stated several things. And when you say, hey, we're trying to control the situation at the moment in terms of our rentals. Well, of course, we can't. People find ways to get around the system, right? And we know that. So that's why we put the 3 years of the property having to stay in that one person's name, because what that will do is it'll make it a little bit harder for someone to come in. And one, if you rent and your renter causes a problem and you know that you weren't supposed to rent, guess what? It gets back to the village, and now the home goes back to the village within those 3 years period. So we are just trying to put preventative measures in place. We understand that we can't control the situation too much, because on the other end, we have people saying, well, how do I know I want to stay here forever? So that's how we came up with the 3 year period, where we want to make sure that you at least have some stake. And secondly, in regards to the rental moratorium, we've already had discussions regarding it as a board. I know you may know, and others, regarding what's happening in Markham at the moment. And what we're doing as a town is we're sitting and watching, because we can't afford any lawsuits at the moment. So when we do take that step, we just want to make sure that we have all legal ramification, if that makes sense. So that is something that we're considering, but we want to know how that turns out first, because again, we can't afford any more lawsuits.
I understand.
No. So just so you know, so we have had talks. We also have had talks regarding the crime-free housing addendum. We understand that that's a necessity at the moment. We also understand that that's a system, and it's a system that hasn't taken place in quite some time. So for us, we had to make sure first that we had a chief of police, because we couldn't take our police off the street to enforce the crime-free addendum. But now that we have more staff and we have a chief of police, now our goal is to take the necessary steps. So just so you all know, there's a lot of more things coming in regards to housing. We just have to start somewhere. That's where we are at the moment. Right now, we have to get out there. I mean, I know that there's a lot of skepticism, but we've seen it work in Chicago Heights. We know that they're doing it. And overall, because we're just now getting our departments in tip-top shape, now we'll have more time to take care of the necessaries in regards to crime-free addendum.
Well, think about if we don't do a moratorium, think about changing that 3 years to 5 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We're here for the discussion. Thank you, kindly. Sure. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna stop you. You can go ahead to the podium, sir. He's been waiting patiently.
No, I just had two quick questions. One for Attorney Agee. In the past or the several towns that you've worked with, just some note taking here. Have you seen it happen with commercial, of course, multifamily, as well as, let's say, vacant lots? Like, let's just say on Beachview, I have a vacant lot next to me. Will that be? Is that
That's
something
absolutely possible. It would be up to the board if they want to include it in there. With the commercial, you're going to run into the issue of the living there for 3 years. So absolutely, you can get vacant lots, you can get commercial lots, you can get multi-units, you can get residential. It's just up to the board because Dolton is putting in that living in it for 3 years. How do you get around that? Obviously, with the vacant lots, you can get around that, but I'm not sure what the board would want to do with the commercial and the multi-unit. And the commercial and the multi-unit, depending on what the board decides, it's up to the trustees. It would be a much higher escrow.
Okay. Second quick question. I don't mean to take so long. Another question I had from when the first rough meeting happened with this, are we able to flip the houses? So let's just say this gentleman purchases a house, he gets it together. Is he able to immediately flip it?
No, my understanding here is that it's the board's position that it has to remain owner occupied for 3 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Or
And just so you know, also regarding that was a really good question because I
Do
have
other
here.
towns flip?
I
I
have.
was gonna say, has other towns provided flipping? Yes.
Every,
Not flip for rent. Let's just say, like, I have a property in Dolton and I buy it 60,000, invest 40,000, but it's on the market and actual homeowner family buys it. That's what I meant by flip. Not saying rental, but
yeah, the majority of municipalities that I work with is until you have your certificate of occupancy, you can do nothing with it. Once you have your certificate of occupancy, you can sell it, you can rent it, you can live in it. No,
she
that's
just-
different
let's not
municipalities.
skip-
He
wait,
had
wait.
asked about other
Now you
municipalities.
confusing the people, Brian. Now you no.
I
So
had a question.
Not here.
So just so so with the 3 years, and to answer your question, no, at the moment. So to be honest, because we're just starting, we want to just start with a few houses and see, and then let's go from there so that we can at least get everyone calm and feeling comfortable. And then I'll ask my lovely board if we can take the next steps once the first part go great. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. I'm gonna get your time. And thank you so much for waiting patiently.
And that's kind of where I was going to get in. My name is Jerome Force, and I do own property and live in Dolton. And I believe that owners like me, I believe I'm a good landlord. I have tenants. I want to invest. I think I sent you emails multiple times. And I believe that, first of all, how long is this program? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it permanent for the residents? And before then, if it's a limit, are we letting bankers come and invest? And are we keeping them bankers at the same rules as us? Because if you ain't gonna keep the bankers the same rules as us, then we should be able to buy a house, flip it. Like y'all said to Chicago Heights. I know owners and investors that did the program and flipped the house right away and made money. I think if you have good residents that have property owners and good landlords and investors in the community that want to flip these houses real fast and make the community better, I think you should let that happen. I understand about the renters. I completely understand about the renters and everything else, but I believe in Dolton. I believe if you look at my property is top notch. I'm just not going to let anybody up in there. And that's how I feel about even the ownership, me flipping houses, putting the right people up in there. I believe that the process is going to be slower to get these houses fixed up if we don't flip them right away. But I also don't want bankers to come in and did what they did 20, 25 years ago, sold all these houses, now they vacant. If you have some true owners with true experience in flipping these houses, I believe you should let them do it.
Gotcha. So let me say this, guys. And we are having a family discussion, right?
Yeah.
And I like this because that's what families are supposed to do. We're supposed to have discussion. So to answer that, we haven't agreed on a certain time limit as of yet. So the board, we are having some discussion, and we will possibly have the open. So this is for residents only first, because we do want to make it a thing where 3 years, let's see how that goes. Because if we allow someone to automatically, just think about this, right? And as a realtor, I've thought about several different scenarios. If we allow someone to come in and immediate flip, then guess what? If they immediately flip it, what's to stop the next person from renting it? And then we have the same, we have the same problem that they had. So to my bigger picture with this, because we do want, at some point, our goal is to first get comfortable with this part. If once this goes successfully, I'm going to go to my lovely board and ask, can we do it for investors? And then we'll have a different set of guidelines for that process. So we don't want to leave you all out. We do, and since I'm talking, I'll stop it.
No.
But we don't want to leave you all out. We do want to consider it. It's just that at the moment, my lovely board, we have to crawl before we walk. Okay. So just so you all know, we don't want to outcast you. We just want the residents to feel comfortable, because this is, where we all live. And we just starting off. So the goal is, once we set a certain amount of days for accepting applications for the resident period, then I'll go back to my lovely board and ask, hey, and then hopefully we can start the investors period, and then we'll have a different set of guidelines there. But ultimately the goal is, once we start considering rental moratoriums and crime-free addendums, once we have some control around our village, right? We know that for the last few years, things have been a little disorderly. So we're just trying to get some order first, and then we'll be able to run things smoothly.
Okay. And I just want to say, I understand what you're talking about with the renters and renting out houses. I'm not talking about renting out houses. I'm talking about actually buying them, flipping them, and having somebody live up in there. Then y'all know y'all keep everybody reliable and protecting their property. Like the guy said, you have to live in the house if you really want to appreciate it. So I'm not talking about renters. I agree. Don't rent it out. But if you have some great small businesses or investors, let them do their job. Let them flip the house, sell them, and have somebody actually live there instead of renting them out. That's all.
Thank you so much, sir. And I want you all to know, as we have the next person come up, this dialogue is what you call healthy dialogue, guys. This is good. This is great mediation. Hello, Mr. Lee.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is a great conversation, but I think there are several components that need to come into play in order to make this succeed. One of the first things that jumped into my mind, we need a list and verification of all the successful Chicago Heights situations. But we can access and see how they're doing it. Maybe they could attend some of our meetings and stuff, and maybe drop some information on, like, for instance, we're on the zoning and planning board, myself and Mr. Pearson. We could use some of that expertise going forward, because obviously we're going to need some interdepartmental cooperation, in my opinion. If we don't get that, I think we're going to have an issue. You mentioned not having the police department to enforce the crime-free housing proposals. We can combine the police with the code enforcement, Mr. Thigpen and his crew. We can start out with fines and then go to the, escalating situation. We don't have to send the police to every situation, if you understand what I'm talking about. We can go from fines. We can go from confiscation to this, that, or the other. And basically, if we work together, we can pull this thing together. I'm also concerned about, okay, I see it's nice to have an attorney in the house. We can get that for all of our meetings that going forward. As far as, you know, some of the other committees, we're going to need an attorney because we really don't know all of the legal ramifications of some of the things that we discuss. And I'm talking specifically about, you know, I'm just going from the committee that I happen to be on. We don't really know all the legal ramifications. We really need to get that taken care of, and we need to get Dolton's phone situation in the proper order so that individual members of these committees don't have to worry about stuff getting FOIA'd and then they're getting access to all your personal information. So these are things that we really need to look at. I know a lot of this is kind of technical. It is to me too, because I'm brand new at this, but we really need to work together on this if we're going to make this succeed. Otherwise, we just blowing smoke.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Lee. So two things as you are walking to your seat. The crime-free addendum. So what I stated regarding is that we had to get a chief of police first. So now we have a chief of police. So now that we have a chief of police, these things will run more smoothly. And then in regards to the attorney, I don't want to confuse things with her sitting here. I only had her sitting here because I didn't want her going back and forth because I know you all would have questions. She's the attorney regarding this program. So that's the only type of legal advice that she'll give us. We still have our regular attorneys, which is McGrath and, you know, our whole entire. So just so you all know, I don't want to get it confused. She's not our attorney. So there will never really be attorneys at the committee meetings for the most part. We only have her here now because I didn't want her going back and forth or taking up a seat from a resident. So I figured, and then for myself, if I had questions, I can kind of just whisper in her ear. But yeah, overall, no, she's simply here for the program, and she'll walk us through the program because legally, in regards to the ordinances and taking over the property, that's where her job comes in at. She'll do the legal work to make sure that we're able to take possession of the property. Correct? Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you again, Mr. Lee. Okay. I'm sorry, babe. Let me restart you real quick.
And I'm gonna stand next to the podium, you know, the little vertically challenged people. Y'all not gonna be able to see me if I stand back here.
Nope, you are more than fine. You go ahead, babe.
All right, so I am Staley Hatter. For those that don't know me in the room, I'm familiar with the trustees. I'm formerly the project manager as well as the interim executive director for the South Suburban Land Bank and Development Authority. So very familiar with the process that she's talking about. Trustee, I commend you for trying to do something to attack the blight that's here in Dolton. The questions that I have, and they're going to be a few, one of the biggest concerns is if the residents are identifying the assets of the properties once they go to court, if that owner shows up and contests that petition, what happens with their escrow funds? Two, I'm sorry, we all know.
Do you want me to answer as you go or answer at the end?
Yeah, that's where you go. Go ahead.
Okay, then I'm gonna go past my 3 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if that happens, first the owner would have to pay up all the back taxes or pay up the water bill. So it very rarely happens. I think I've had it happen twice in all of the municipalities that I work for. But if it did happen in the escrow agreement that would be signed, anything that the village has spent to that point to bring the case, the village keeps. The rest would go back to the applicant.
Okay. Question number two. Once the property has been signed over to the village, at what point is the village going to turn it over to this new owner? Is that immediate, or is there an inspection period for this person to go in and take a look at what they're potentially acquiring?
Did you want me?
Yeah, you can.
They absolutely can, but at that point, their escrow has already been spent. So they absolutely can go in, but if they back out, they lose their escrow amount. So once the village owns it and the village has the opportunity to get into it, the applicant can get into it. Closing would happen as soon as the taxes are abated. Right now, the county is a little bit behind on abating taxes, so closings are going to take a little bit longer. But once they get the new computer system up and running and taxes are getting abated within a week to 2 weeks, you close within 30 days, just like any other closing.
Number 3, throughout this process, will they have access to Mr. Thigpen to try and understand where you are on your building codes and what is going to be expected in terms of making that property code compliant?
He's always at the Village of Dolton. Catch him
I'm fine
doing
with that.
village hours, and everyone knows his number for the most part. But yes, he will be accessible. And just while you're on that subject, once it's approved, our ultimate goal will also be to partner with contractors and various people to make it more affordable. So maybe different contractors can provide discounts so it's more affordable for the residents. So those are things we're considering also.
Okay, and that ties into the next thing, affordability. So a $10,000 escrow, most people can have. You're mentioning show that you have proof of acquisition and rehabilitation. That rehabilitation portion, without the support of contractors who understand new construction from the ground up for an asset in Dolton, and I have the pictures of it, for those assets that have been vacant for 5, 10, 15 years, some of them have foundation issues, some of them have roofing issues, some of them have electrical issues, not to mention the vermins that are in there. There are different contractors that may not be accounted for because an exterior walk around does not prepare you for what's on the interior. So when we're thinking about this for the residents, I think you need a more holistic wraparound approach to the program before it goes live. But again, I commend you for absolutely wanting to do something about it.
No. So as I stated before, this is discussion prior to it going to the Cal meeting. We understand that there's much more, a few more things that we'd have to work out. Again, this is just how do we get started? So in an event with regards to the contractors, if we're partnering with contractors, in regards to the proof of funds, people could use loans, however your proof of funds, whatever hard money, however you bring your proof of funds, that's totally fine in regards to completing the work for the property. So yeah, we are considering partnering with contractors and everyone to get us a discount though.
And then last question.
Sure.
What happens if the resident acquires a property and there's a foundational issue and that property really needs to be demolished? What happens to that initial investment at that point?
You want to answer?
So that would be up to the village. There are some municipalities that allow you to take that initial escrow and put it towards a different home that maybe wouldn't have foundational issues or you would be able to get. But it's kind of a risk that you run. Again, it's ultimately up to the board, but that is a risk that you would run, that there would be foundational issues. Even if there are foundational issues, you know, they can still be repaired. If a structure is demolishable, I don't think Mr. Thigpen would allow it in the program. If it's a structure that really needs to be demolished, they're not going to allow it in the program.
I've seen it. I've seen it with the land bank with a structure that's got a concrete pour that's bowed in, but you don't know that until you get in. I've seen it in Glenwood where the fire department, we're doing a trash out. The fire department came in and was like, yeah, no, you can't do that. So
No, it happens.
Unfortunately, there aren't always easily identifiable structural issues from an exterior walk around,
Sure.
which is what happens. But when you're doing an abandonment petition, you can't get on the end. That would be trespassing.
Right. No, and you're absolutely correct. It does happen. I mean, yeah, that is a risk that's run, and it would be up to the village to decide how they would want to handle that situation.
And just as a member of the board, we wouldn't mind, you know, our goal is not to mistreat anyone here. So I'm sure that if something like that took place, and if I had to go to the board and ask if they could use that escrow towards another property, I'm sure that possibly wouldn't be a problem. So use it towards a different property. Don't start nothing now up there. Oh, no. It was this one here. No, start with me. You're fine. This is the troublemaker right here.
Good
evening.
I think that Ms. Hatter kind of asked a few of the questions that I had, but I did want to know, how would, if you are doing this program and a homeowner purchases a property and then you give a 3-year that they have to stay in the home, after that, how do you control investors from homeowners? How will you watch over that process?
Well, that's the purpose of us adding a time limit. After that time period, it's just like with any other deal. After that time period it's that person's home and they own it, so they can do as they please with it. And that's why we're considering 3 or 5 years as opposed to 1 year, just to make it a little bit more complicated in terms of someone trying to cheat the system.
I'm gonna have to agree with former trustee Pearson, 5 years, not 3.
Hey, this is a great family discussion. We're on a roll. We're doing great here.
How many properties can a homeowner purchase within this program?
One.
Just one. There was a lovely program that was done in the city of Chicago called the Landlord Next Door. And it kind of worked as an investment for those who want to invest. You have to be in a certain mileage of the property, and then you were responsible for maintaining it. So that way you can control that property and understand what that homeowner or investor is doing. How many other programs like this or similar to this have you vetted, or is this the only one that's been vetted?
I've vetted several, but in regards to the ones that were successful, this one was one of the ones that was successful and actually taking place. And actually, they've actually put homes on the tax roll. And I've actually had, so Mr. Thigpen here is actually who told me about the program. So he told me, he said, hey, he ran into someone who went through the program and they told him how great it was. And once he kept telling me about it, I said, I have to meet this Miss Agee. And then everything went from there.
So will we hear about other programs, or is this the only one that's going to be presented?
Yeah, so as I stated, when we talk about the program in entirety, this is just one part. This is just one start. So the ultimate thought is we have to start somewhere. And we want to start with somewhere where the model is already successful.
So we're not going to vet any other programs?
Yes, ma'am, at a later time. But right now we want to start somewhere. So this is my initial start. And then we'll add more components to the program. Yes.
So we're not vetting any other programs?
Yes, but I am proposing this one at the moment to start. And yes, I've already vetted different programs. And yes, they're more than willing to come and present also. But to answer your question, this is the one that I'm proposing to the board at the next CAL meeting.
So before a vote, will we hear about other programs? That's what I'm asking. Will there be a presentation of other options? I understand what you're saying.
If some present themselves prior to the next meeting, yes. But if not, it'll just be an addition. So because there'll be more parts to this, for the most part, this program seems like a great start. I've been getting a lot of great feedback from it. If the board decides to approve it, then yes, this will just be the ultimate start. If there are other presentees, yes, we're more than willing to add them to different parts of the program. Yes, ma'am.
So I guess what I'm trying for us to consider avoiding is the BP Capital that we ran into years ago, because we only had one program presented. So with this, I'm asking, can we hear about others? So it may take a little time to present some more proposals, of course, but I would like to see us look at other options, if there are other options, but spend some time looking for them. And you may have, I don't know that you did or didn't, but this is the one that it seems like that's being pushed, but I'm certain that there's other things that are out there. We just have to look for them.
Well, I did vet several, and if you have any in mind, please let me know. If anyone else, that's why this is a discussion, so that we can figure it out together. But ultimately, we have to start somewhere. Is my thought.
Okay. I think you've answered them all. Ms. Hatter kind of actually covered a lot of the questions that I had. So we'll see how successful we'll be.
You all have great questions, guys. This is an amazing discussion. I was like I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't want to interrupt our lovely, one of the best mayors in the entire Southline, guys. He have joined us, Mayor House.
Thank you. No. Thank you for that 5-month tribute. No, I did want to kind of maybe just chime in on a couple of different points. Most importantly, I think I heard Trustee Norwood mentioning that the importance of us having a discussion, not only at committee of the whole, also having this committee meeting, and the discussion is ongoing. I think that we are trying to emphasize that we are looking towards moving a process forward that we can begin to see a transition of our housing stock, because of a lot of the different tension, the village has not actually implemented anything. And that's not by way of casting blame at anyone. It's just a matter of the reality. We want to make sure that we are open to all possibilities. And I think Trustee Norwood has come up with this one, or communicated with Ms. Agee and this program that has been successful in other communities. We have looked at, and I'm listening to Commissioner Wells, as well as some of the comments as I came in. Forgive me for being a little behind. I have looked through many of the documents. I'm going to watch the beginning of this meeting. So, but we will continue looking at all possible outcomes, and we will be free to share anything that we've looked at prior to now, and anything that comes after will be welcome. We go at everything with a conservative approach, so that way we can see what's working and what needs to be tweaked. We've gotten some great feedback. There was a mentioning from 3 to 5 months. I think the board is always welcome and interested, and will make the necessary changes based on the feedback that we've gotten here today. More will be to come, and it's going to be done openly, as today's discussion has been. So we don't want anybody to walk away from here feeling like they got their mind made up. Our mind is made up that we're going to attack this housing stock. Our mind is made up that we're going to put more houses on the tax roll. What that's going to look like, we're all a part of that process right now. That's what this today is to do, and to make sure that we move an agenda forward that makes a better Dolton tomorrow. One other component that has not been discussed, but I'll say I'm personally monitoring, is moratorium on renters. So we could be talking about 3 years or 5 years, but by the time that comes up, there are other possibilities that this village can do to make sure that we have as many homeowners as humanly possible, because we know those are the ones that care most for their properties. Nothing against renters, because I've rented before in my life too, and I like to think I'm a decent person. But I also want to say that we are very mindful of everything. We do want to get a process started. We want to do it in a conservative and thought out manner. So I do commend, of course, Trustee Tammy Brown, Brittany Norwood, and everybody on the board for taking some time to vet a process. And we want to be fully supportive, transparent, and we are really here to listen to the feedback. So please, I do not want anybody to walk out of here thinking they have their minds 100% made up. The only thing my mind is made up on is we have to move a process forward, so that way we can get better. But that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Callie, Mayor.
Thank you, man. Very good. Very good classification. And I have a quick question about pertaining to some of the severe questionings. So residents that purchase $10,000 escrow, we come up with the 10,000. Now the house, as Ms. Staley mentioned about the structure and the damages and the position this house is in. Most rehabs we're going to be looking at coming from 5-year, 10-year sitting buildings, putting $100,000 into it, at the least most. Okay, so $100,000 now plus $10,000 leaves the resident in a hole of $110,000 of this investment. Correct? $110,000 of this investment at the low end of the rehab. Correct? At the low end,
depending on the property. So we all know that the property varies. There's some properties that only need cosmetics. And that's why I stated that there's going to be, for the residents, I originally said, if you find the property, I was thinking, hey, if you have you supply the address. But if we provide you all with the list, then even better. Once you all get inside, then they can see how much work is necessary, and then you go from there. But there's some that only needs cosmetics. There are some that need more work. And that's why I say that we're starting with the 10,000, because we figure some may only need cosmetics, 10,000 for an entire house. If you only have to do cosmetics, that's a great deal.
I mean, that's an amazing suggestion. But most times, dealing with reality of investors out here, us who's really flipping properties every day, you're not finding cosmetics at all. There's nothing cosmetic about a house where the roof has been torn on, water, mold, all type of destruction in this house. There's nothing cosmetic about it. So you're not going to find the golden child in one of these cosmetic positions. So we're looking at $100,000 for our resident plus the $10,000 escrow pertaining to, correct? In the initial buy-in.
Maybe I didn't ask what you want to ask him for. Maybe we didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. So
So-
yeah, there is the $10,000 escrow, and depending on the cost of repair, I think you say 100,000 on the low end.
Correct.
I would disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I can just tell you from my experience in other municipalities, there's plenty of homes where, you got 30, 40, 50, 60 on the actual end, not even the high or low end. So I think 100 stretching it, but I would say even if you did get a property that needed 100,000 and you have a home that's livable in it for $110,000, I think you're doing good.
Well, we are doing good if we're keeping it, right? And that property goes on the tax roll, right?
Yeah.
So the individual appraises that at that value, this assessed more, correct?
Say again?
When you put the property back on the tax roll after it's been redone, it assesses for more, correct? The tax
It assesses for more. Oh, I'm not sure if the assessed value is absolutely going to go up from what it was. Sure. Yes.
Okay, now we have to hold it for 3 years with that assessed value of paying those taxes and the equivalent of what we invested, correct? Now, let's say we go a hard money lender, correct? Hard money lenders are mostly time frame doers, so 60 to 90 days turnaround time. So opposing that resident get into that situation and that property does not get finished, right? And that resident is now invested $40,000 into that, correct? What is the position of that residence if he doesn't finish that property or can't finish that property?
So typically, after a year, people could ask for extension. So in different towns, I've heard you state before that in the event that someone has not completed the rehab in the required time, they can come to the village and ask for an extension.
Okay.
And that would be, that's more than fair. As we stated before, we're not trying to mistreat anyone. We simply just want someone to have a great home that they can live in and be proud of in a great city of Dolton.
Excellent. So as residents, so let's say an investment property, your term. I know residents are not into the renter things, okay? But we have some serious deficit going on in this town. We need tax money. We gotta get some revenue generated, correct? So if I personally standing up, I'm gonna give you true examples. I focused on the land bank 5-6 years ago. A couple of properties that were very decapitated on Park Avenue in the back. We started there. I built that property. We sold it at $250. That brought the whole market of Dolton totally up. So now you look at the Dolton. We're looking at Dolton sell all day long for $200,000 and $300,000 homes. All day long after that one. Now we also just did one here where BP Capital got this property on the last deal that we purchased right here on Chicago Road. Put that back together. Now we just sold that for $330,000 tax money. Like those are the type of deals that will bring us out of the deficit than holding on to 3 years where we have to go invest and then we have to hold it for 3 years and then do what we want to try to do to it. That's going to be a hard position to play out.
Well, we'll definitely take that in consideration, and we're having a great discussion so far. So I'm gonna add that to our discussion also. Trustee Steve, please join us.
Greetings, everyone. I just got a question. If between Mayor House and Trustee Norwood, can you explain, because I see there's the BP Capital came that term because it was a nightmare for us.
Gotcha.
Can you explain the difference? Why this is not BP Capital? We're not turning over 400 homes to one company. Can you explain the difference? I know between Trustee Norwood and Mayor House. I've heard y'all explain it. Why this is not the same as BP Capital?
Yes. So with BP Capital, to my knowledge, the houses were giving to it was given. They were given out to the investors, and things didn't go all the way as planned. Somehow, I'm not quite sure on where things went wrong, but the difference here is that one, this is for residents. So that's starting off the difference. The first thing, I think they had investors. We're saying, hey, we want residents to feel confident and comfortable with this housing plan that's for the village of Dolton. So that's one of the first differences there. We're promoting home ownership. Secondly, one of the main other considerations is the fact that we're going to partner with these contractors, and we're going to say, hey, we're going to ask for discounted for the services. So this program is for all of us. We're all putting our input. I've heard someone say, well, hold it for 3 years. Someone hold it for 5 years. This is different because we're asking the residents. Yeah, we have the start, we have the idea, but we ultimately want to hear from you all. When we say hold the property for 3 years, and we're promoting the home ownership, it's important because for Dolton residents, I've had lots of calls for the last few weeks saying, hey, I have a daughter in college, and when she graduates, I want to have this home so that when she comes from school, when she graduates, she can live here. So that's the difference for me. We're personalizing as a community. This is not, as the mayor stated, this is not saying, hey, we're absolutely just set on this. This is something that we're composing together. Yes, we do have the escrow because there is a cost for going through the process. But even with that, we're making sure that the village don't have to pay for anything. So we're trying to cut costs from the village. We want to have transparency. And the reason why we're limiting the process, and when I say, well, we're going to have different components, is because I understand that there's different ways to skin a cat, right? Several different ways. So when I say this is a start or just a proposal, that is exactly what I mean in regards to the residents just having input in the program, us finding something that works, and us just trying to figure it out. I even heard investors in the back, and I hear that they're saying, hey, we want a chance also. As I stated before, if we can successfully pull this thing off, then maybe the next round we can open it up to investors. So that's the difference. The difference is we're one village, one team, one beat, one sound, and we're not trying to mistreat anyone. We're not trying to rob anyone. We're not trying to steal. We're being here. This is actually my second meeting on this for the week, this week, because I want to make sure that residents understand it. And I want us to compose it together. So that's what we're doing here today. We're just composing it together.
One additional point I want to add to this: the moment that the resident takes possession of the property, the resident or whomever purchases the property is responsible for property taxes day one. So once it's transferred into that individual's name, it's back on the tax rolls, and the village begins to receive the benefit from this program during the process of the home being fixed up, during the 3-year period or 5-year period, because we're not committed. I want to promise we're not committed. But day one, we begin to see actual benefit from the process beginning. Separately from that, I always have to remind us there is also a cost of inactivity, because as we are vetting things, we want to, of course, be prudent. But if we get into analysis paralysis, where we kind of are looking for the cracks or the creeks or the creases, then the village does not get any revenue. Those homes stay blighted as we continue to search for the program. And I can guarantee you every program has its flaws, it has its benefits. We want to make sure that we have something that has far more benefits than flaws. I know there's big interest in investors coming in. I know that's the case. And then even if we limit it to one, how do you know that an investor is not going to create 10 different companies? I mean, those are all flaws. There's no 100% stopgap for any program. What we're looking to do is do a prudent program that benefits the residents of Dolton, puts them first, gives them the best opportunity. We're going to do it transparently. We're going to do it fairly. But we want to make sure that we don't, that we remain on a path that helps this community to not have as many vacant and abandoned properties. And in the process, if we find somebody doing wrong, Vic, man, how many tickets do you write?
Close to 73 a week. Somewhere.
Do we
that's our
shy away
average.
from doing the right thing when it comes to people that are violating the rights of this town?
No, we don't.
And I will guarantee you, somebody found to be doing the wrong thing, we will take swift action. But in this process, we also want to make sure that we are trying to get some homes back on the tax rolls as quickly as possible. We will entertain all possibilities to do so. We are not going 100 full-fledged at this moment, and we have the benefit with this process of it being successful in Chicago Heights and many other communities. I will implore anybody that's here to go and take some research. That's why we've been doing this vetting diligently, because we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity from today until we have, I would imagine it's going to be discussed on November. And as we come up with the right tweaks, it may be voted in December. If there's enough challenge, if there are challenges we identify, it may push back. But I'm certain we have at least a month for everybody here, everybody watching, to do more research. I've come out of this with a few additional questions myself, candidly. But we're going to research it. We're going to come up with the best solution. And we want to make sure everybody, or I'm not going to say everybody, I'm sure everybody's not going to be comfortable. As many people as humanly possible are comfortable with this process and know that us as your representatives are doing it in a way that we can be proud of.
Sure.
I just want to piggyback on what the mayor was saying, and also Mr. Lee, what he mentioned with the being collaborative with building and zoning, as well as code enforcement and the police department. I talked to other inspectors, other code enforcement directors throughout the South suburbs, worked in several different towns. That's how I found out about this particular program. And it's like they said, this might not be the best program, but just so happened to be doing an inspection training with a gentleman. And I just always ask, hey, you know, if you're selling, where did you move to? Where are you moving to? He said, oh, I bought a multi-unit building in Chicago Heights for $5,000. The price was either 5 or 10. And then I purchased one on the next block from it for the rest of my family. He said the program was really good, and he said the process only took him to go through it. I think he said about 2.5, 3 months, but he was able to purchase that multifamily unit and the house on the next one. He also mentioned that, hey, first thing I did was made the properties look very well lived in. He said, hey, you know, I got lawn maintenance on there. Started the rehab. He said it was seamless, and I did my research. I was like, okay, I had never heard of that. That had never popped up at our Build Chicago meetings and things like that. So he said, hey, contact Chicago Heights. I think it was the economic development. And that's how I actually ran into Attorney Agee, who I met before, because I met her at Park Forest years ago dealing with the crime-free housing summit. But like I said, you have to do your research. You have to do the research and see what it was. I've only talked to one other program. I honestly didn't remember the name of it that I did. It took the guy like 12 weeks to call me back. But when I spoke to the gentleman that was doing the inspection with me, and then he actually showed me how bad the property looked, and I confirmed that with some of the other Chicago Heights, not just the other inspectors of code enforcement. I know a few officers out there, a few detectives. They like, oh yes, the program has definitely worked. We'll put you in touch with a gentleman. And then that's how I just got her, just for informational purposes, to see how is this program actually working, because we have honestly several hundred that we can probably use within this program. And we all get residents that walk up to us saying, hey, this vacant house across the street, what do I got to do to buy this house? I think I can fix that up. And that's where I did my research to figure out, just to come up with some type of idea where we can try to get these houses back on the tax roll and ultimately save the village money. Because as the mayor said, we spend a lot of money, as well as residents spend a lot of money if they have a vacant on their block, by having their landscaper cut a house. So, you know, it saves money in the long run, I would hope.
Thank you. See, so I told you guys, I didn't make that up. He told me. And then, as I was in the midst of vetting other programs, he followed up and he's like, hey, did you call? And I was like, oh, I forgot. And then I called her.
You got to get the
and-
calls I get. I get a lot of calls.
You get a lot of calls? I get a lot of calls too. So guys, thank you for your testimony. I just want you all to know that this discussion tonight was absolutely amazing. So for so long, we haven't had an input, right? We haven't even been able to have a say. So just to be able to have this family discussion is extremely important. And now we know how everyone feel. It'll allow the board to take in consideration you all's thoughts also when finalizing the program. So guys, I think that I'm just overjoyed, right? The energy is great. Sure. I mean, we're such on a roll. I feel like we've had such great questions tonight.
To the attorney, once these people have rehabbed the houses and moved into them, what happens to their houses? Do they rent them out to somebody else and to generate more rental units, or what?
That would be up to the board, but it'd be up to the homeowner. I don't think the board would be able to regulate what you do with your personal home.
But we don't want more rental units. And I would ask the board to consider, an ordinance or some motion that would limit the number of a percentage of rental units within the city based on the total number of houses that we have, or based on the total of permanent, homeowned houses.
So, May, I'm sorry, real quick. Go ahead.
No, I thank you. I'm in agreement with that. Right now, I'm following Markham because they put in the moratorium on rentals. I know that's also been done in South Holland. They are currently either facing or being threatened with litigation on that. They expect to be successful in that litigation. Nonetheless, they have to pay for it. So I'm acutely watching and speaking with their mayor on what's going on, because I would rather their case be flushed out so that it would prevent anybody else from trying to sue this village when we'll already have a case study in hand, because Lord knows we don't need another lawsuit. But I'm in agreement. I think that's a very great point, and just this is more of a timing thing, because I don't think anybody on the board would have an objection to limiting the number of rentals. We just want to make sure we don't get a lawsuit, or when we do it in a way that.
I live on a block where I'll bet you a vast majority of the homes are rented. And I say that the landowner, the homeowner, not the rental people, don't give a damn about the house. And they look like.
If you can't, I'm gonna say this. Hey, Brian, you got another block to hit.
Yeah. Oh, he's probably been down that one,
but no, and please, as you see things about the people who do not care about their homes, call in, and we are doing follow-ups on them. We are ticketing. We'll knock on the doors and talk to them about getting it cleaned up. So it's not an immediate fix, but we are out there all the time working with them to try to bring them up to code. And if they won't comply, also make sure that they are getting their appropriate share of tickets.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
One thing I will say, I understand I try to look at it from both sides of the story. I understand with the renters, all renters aren't good people. All homeowners aren't good people, but you could just try to enforce the laws and do it the best you can. I will say this as an inspector. This week alone, I have done 7 properties in Dolton that are currently for sale. 4 of them actually had contracts on them, and there are not necessarily investors. I guess you can say investors. They do some great work, and they are the 3 of them that I know. The family just so happened to be there with their actual inspector, and having been in Dolton since 1988 myself, the level of work that they're doing, like there are some amazing houses. Like if you look at Dolton in the past, they say blighted, but when you walk into these properties, even what you have done, which I'm not putting you on the site, but a beautiful house. You walk in and it looks very presidential. But one thing that I've also noticed too, Dolton is a great midpoint to a lot of other touch points within the south suburbs. We have every expressway you can think of within 5 to 9 minutes from here, and we're a great starting point. I look at it when my parents came in, a great starting point for beginning families. A definitely great starting point. Even the 3-bedroom, 1-bath, what we call slab houses, are definitely amazing. Our standard trial levels, but it's up to us to be neighborly. I know some of us, we don't want to approach our neighbors because they're crazy. I have a crazy neighbor myself. You just really, you just rather have the police go tell them what to do. But it's I understand the flipping aspect of it too, but there are some, it's a nice starting point. Some great families moving in Dolton. And when I say the houses just definitely look amazing at the work they're doing. I've seen one this week with a double fireplace from a master bedroom. Never seen that before in Dolton. You walk in the living room, you go into the what they made a primary suite, and you're like, oh, it's a double fireplace. You just, especially on that side of town, it's nothing that I've seen before. But I understand where it comes in. You definitely want rentals to just abide by the law and hold landlords accountable.
Thank you kindly. And we're going to take this last and then we're going to adjourn.
Everybody, thank you for being here. I think this is really important discussion to address some of the resident concerns. As a realtor, there's no way you're going to stop 100% renters. The reason why is the Village of Dolton, for all of your assets, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, Rauner, who was governor, designated a good portion of your town as an opportunity zone. For those out-of-state investors with the big money, what does that mean? That means their capital gains, the money that they make from selling another property, they have a set amount of time per the tax code to redeposit that money into another asset. That opportunity zone allowed them to set that money for 10 years, including any appreciation, and you can withdraw that money. That's really attractive. That's still in place. You're not going to get rid of all of your renters. So we need to understand what you're sitting on. Why I think transparency is going to be key with whatever program you go forward with. Education is going to be key with whatever program you go forward on. And the reason why I asked the questions that I asked is because I know, having partnered with Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago, South Suburban Housing Center out in Homewood, when you take an owner occupant that lives next door to a vacant asset who just wants to do something well-intended, and you step inside that house that's been empty for 10 years, not only do you have the initial investment for the abandonment petition, you also have to look at what are the trash out costs going to be, or is that a cost that the village is going to take on? You also have to look at what the insurances are going to look like for insuring a vacant asset, which is very different than insuring an occupied asset. If we've never undertaken a rehab before, why I say you need your wraparound services, is the village going to vet those contractors? Because the fly-by-nights, once the word gets out that you have this program, they're going to come. It's just the nature of the beast. So when they come, are you prepared to put forth that partnership with your building code department to make sure that those contractors are licensed, bonded, insured, and actually capable of doing the work necessary, which is why I said in the first set of comments, do you have the experience with what's essentially a new construction build? Most abandoned assets are not going to be cosmetic flips. I can guarantee you that. Not the stock that you have here. Has it happened in other municipalities? Out of every 10 houses we've walked into, 1 or 2. And those tend to be your attached units. So
Thank you.
I'm happy you're going to do something.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you joining our discussion tonight.
You're welcome.
So guys, please, we thank you all for all of this discussion tonight. As I stated before, upon approval, our goal is to partner with everyone to make sure that everyone have the necessary resources to move forward. I thank you guys. This meeting is adjourned. I'd like to, do I need Trustee Brown to? Okay. I need you, look, I was just about to call your name, man. Trustee Brown? Aye. Myself, aye. Guys, we thank you for joining us tonight and we look forward to working together.